morning, or should I say great morning to everyone. Welcome to day 2 of RYLA. For our guests that are on that does not know what RYLA is our Rotary Youth Leadership Award, a program organized by Rotary clubs in the district to help interactors and Rotaractors to develop their own professional skills. Now today, we are very excited to bring you this program. We have Rotaractors and Interactors from our district, 70-30, and also 70-20. So I implore you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the program because today promises to be a very exciting event. So have fun, ask lots of questions, and if you can, make connections. So welcome and have a great day.
Creating peaceful spaces. As we young people interact in different communities, first with yourself, with your family, extended family, friends, school, work, you will find that it is very necessary to create spaces that you are comfortable with. Creating peaceful spaces, any space, but our focus today on peaceful spaces should be very intentional, very deliberate, requires deliberate actions. And I want you to note even at the beginning that peace is not the absence of tension. It's not the absence of stormy situations. But even when storms are raging, our response is to create a space that we're comfortable in and that we can radiate around us. So we're going to talk briefly so that we'll be able to develop the ability to understand self-awareness, manage self-regulation, and to express the social and emotional aspects of our lives. I am sure you would have heard this term or this saying, no man is an island. We need people. People are all around us. And even if you were to live in this beautiful space, you will still need a level of interaction to survive. And it is this interaction that requires deliberate thoughts and deliberate actions. Creating peaceful spaces will help us to protect and to provide solace. Because like I had said earlier, that peace is not because there is no tension, but it is in spite of that we create these spaces for ourselves. And Martin Luther King Jr. says, true peace is not merely the absence of tension, but it is the presence of justice. And I would like for you to think for a minute on what will that look like, first in your life, in your home, in the wider community where you live and operate, school, work, but in the country and then the Caribbean, the district, and then the world at large. What does it mean to have justice? What does justice look like for you? Absence, not the absence of tension, but the presence of justice. What does that look like? So reflect on that for one moment, please. What the tension that we experience day to day, it's really a conflict, a misunderstanding, a clash of interests. We all have different and competing interests. For example, interactors, you possibly live with parents or guardians and siblings, and your interests will clash. For example, if you live in a home with one television, what program you want to see? Someone wants to look at the news on CNN or MSNBC, and you would like to look at what is the interesting soap operas or those situation comedies, sitcoms, or so on. What is it? You have a clash of interest. You're not interested in this, but you're interested in that. And you need to share space and you need to share resources. And so here you have a conflict. A conflict is not a war. It's just a clash of interests. And this happens in many spaces that we enter and we interact in because of our socialization. We may be one Caribbean, but we have different thoughts and feelings and values and lived experiences. And so these are some of the things as young people, as we venture into the world and as we create spaces for ourselves, we need to consider that our interests will not always align. And so spaces we will need to create. So when we have a clash of interests, or when we sense a buildup of tension, how do we respond so that we do not escalate into a full-blown war? First of all, we need to talk about things. Talk about it. We need to listen to the other person, listen to what the other person has to say, so that we can resolve the issue and we're looking for a win-win. We are going to talk. For us to talk, we have to be self-aware. What is the clash? We need to listen because there is hardly ever one solution to an issue or one thought and then we work towards how are we going to resolve. Let's talk briefly about talking, listening, and resolving. First, we need to separate the person from the problem. A lot of times we get into an argument, we experience a clash of interests, we experience a conflict, and we go to the person. We degenerate into, I don't like you. You always, we use that term, you always do that. You never, right? So we bring big generalizations, but you want to look at what is the problem and note that the problem comes from a different point of view. That is why we're having a conflict, because our views are different. It's not about the person, how lazy they are or how loud they are, but it is the interest, the view that is different. We've been raised differently, or we have been taught differently. We have a different religion. We have a different perspective. So do not first look at the person, but let us look at what the problem is and understand that we all have different lived experiences, right? We all have different values, and that is what we need to start talking about, thinking about as we talk about the problem. Focus on the interests, not what is right, because remember, things are hardly ever black and white. There's so much gray, right? So focus on not who is right and who is wrong, because that is a whole perspective. It depends on how you are looking or viewing the situation. It depends on where you are seated, and it really depends on experiences you have had. So focus on the interest. Why is Mark taking this particular stance? What is informing his decision? If you went down the road before, you have thoughts and experiences that may color and influence your response to being invited to go back down that road. So focus on the interest, not on your position that I am right and I know it. Collaborate. Look for mutual gains. How are we going to resolve this issue that we both win? It is easier to compromise. It takes less time, and maybe one person, you go away 50-50. But it is possible for us to work together to find a solution that we both feel comfortable with. We do not have to always compromise and walk away 50-50. It takes time. It takes cooperation. But you can think about how we both can gain from this experience and how we can both walk away feeling as though our interests were taken into consideration. And now here we are feeling much better after we have had a talk. So what I want us to think about is talking, becoming. Why is this issue an issue for me? Why is this an issue for me? What is it I am feeling when someone when someone makes a decision for me and I'm not able to contribute to that decision? What does it remind me of? Self-awareness. Listening. What does the other person has to say? And an understanding of justice. It's not just my view, but it's also the view of the other person that is important, and why their voice should be centered as well, why they should be allowed to speak. And how do we resolve? We do not need to walk away. We do not need to avoid, but we can engage so that we can resolve. It is very important when we talk about creating peaceful spaces for us to create that first within ourselves so that we feel able, empowered to talk, to listen, and to resolve. Creating peaceful spaces is important for us, and we can do that through different ways. One, we can use our breath. Breathe, take a deep breath to center yourself even before you respond. You can self-soothe with taste, so have something that you like, you eat that thing that you like. Hear, by what you hear, your senses, using your senses, what you hear, playing music, what you feel. So taking a long shower, simple things can help you to center so you can create a peaceful space. And also how you engage others, what you do for others can also help you to soothe when you are uncomfortable, experiencing feelings because of a clash of interest. All right, if you have questions, I hope you are giving me some thoughts and also asking those in the chat box. I want to move towards an exercise that will help us to reflect on some of the things I've said in brief about creating peaceful spaces and how our actions can negatively impact others around us when our intent is not to create peace and to respond in a way that will de-escalate and not necessarily escalate something into a whole big war. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and ask my crew, Rashida and where, okay. Okay, stop share. Got it. I am going to now ask Rashida and Shivraj and Monique and one other person. I have 4 of them that I am forgetting in this moment. I'm going to ask them to come up on screen. They're going to have a tube of toothpaste and they're going to have something that they can spurt that toothpaste on. When I read, I'm going to quickly read some scenarios here and ask them when they listen to these scenarios, if at any point they feel that that person is acting in a way that escalates and not create peaceful spaces, they're going to spurt onto the paper or their plate. So first scenario, Mark habitually works late and regularly raids the office fridge when he feels hungry. Several times, he replaces things days later and never pays attention to brands. Tuesday last, he worked late and drank Margot's juice and ate her granola bars. When she asked who took her stuff, Mark said he did and will bring it back on the weekend when he goes to the supermarket. Margot was upset, went to his desk and told him to stop taking people's stuff without permission. She left her stuff there to eat today and would prefer to have it now. When Margot returned to her desk, Mark stood up and told the entire office that Margot was being a baby. Yes, he used her stuff and would bring it back, and he doesn't know why she was being so mean and miserable. She's a spoiled child, doesn't like to share, and loves attention. Margot was embarrassed and started crying silently at her desk. I don't see them, but I'm sure maybe they're squeezing some toothpaste. All right. Maybe I should have asked some of you. I've not seen them either. I should have asked some of you to get some toothpaste and do the exercise as well. Second scenario, I'm running along because I'm going to run out of time. Janine thinks her older sister, Mary, is beautiful and the most popular girl in school. She follows her around and tries to do everything Mary does. She recently started trying on Mary's clothes and modeling around the house with them. Mary came home one day to find Janine modeling her outfit for her friends. The clothes were not complimentary because they were too big and not well styled. Mary took several photographs of Janine and placed them on Facebook with derogatory comments like hashtag what not to wear, hashtag you shouldn't wear your sister's clothes, hashtag the ugly duckling. When Janine saw the posts, she was heartbroken. If you had some toothpaste, would you be squirting? Final. I have a few more, but I'll do one because I'm watching that time. One more. Donna is popular, pretty, but a mean girl. Donna recently started taking classes with Grace, who is very charismatic and helpful to most. Donna felt that Grace was taking up the limelight and started plotting with her crew to sideline Grace. Donna started commenting openly about Grace's body parts and the clothes she wears. When Grace enters the classroom or they pass her anywhere on campus, Donna and her friends snickers and say cruel things. Grace started feeling very self-conscious and started cutting classes to avoid the cruelty. Grace's grades started falling and she isolated even more. If you found that that was offensive, then I want you to squirt some toothpaste. Now, your toothpaste is out on the plate. We can't see them, but I'm sure that's what they're doing. And this is what happens. One of Mark's buddies told him that what he was doing to Margot was not right. So Mark went to apologize to Margot and she accepted his apology. I would like you now to take some of that Colgate or toothpaste, sorry, and put it back into the tube. Put the toothpaste back into the tube because Mark apologized for his bad behavior. Mary saw how distraught Janine was and removed all the pictures and comments from Facebook. So she apologized, put the toothpaste back into the tube. And Donna attended a presentation on bullying and learned some conflict resolution skills. She and her friends went to Grace to apologize, and Grace accepted. So put the toothpaste back into the tube. Now that the toothpaste is back, were you able to put the toothpaste back into the tube? I guess not. The object is, be careful how you're with your words. Nope, Debbie said she wasn't able to. Be careful with your words. Once you send them out, they hurt, they scar, the trauma is real, and the scar can last a lifetime. You apologizing and trying to make amends, okay, but it does not, it may stop the hurt, but it may not heal the scars. And for a long time, the person may be carrying those wounds. Conflict is a clash of interests. Create peaceful spaces by listening, by talking, by listening, and resolving. Mutual gains. Thank you.
So this is going to be a talk about understanding diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's a brief introduction, okay? So we won't have all topics covered here, but I think there's just some really important basic topics for us to discuss. Okay. And just to let you know, my clicker is a little bit slower than me, so, but we will get there. So the introduction and outline for today, we're going to look at what do we mean by diversity, equity, and inclusion. What is Rotary doing? So diversity, equity, and inclusion and Rotary. And I think the bit that's really important, what can you do to strengthen diversity, equity, and inclusion in your own communities and in your workspaces and in your lives, okay? So definitions of diversity. And as we're going through this, I just want you to reflect on your feelings. You'll have to excuse me. I've got a bit of a cough today, so I apologise. As we go through, I want you to really reflect and think about what the topics that we talk about, what it means to you, how you, what reactions are you having? We all have different reactions when we speak about things, diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's really important to notice those things, okay? So some definitions of diversity. I want you to think about, what does diversity mean to you? What does it mean for you, okay? So one definition that we have, we've got two definitions here, okay? The first, the fact of many different types of things or people being included in something. A range of different things or people, okay? And another definition, the condition or fact of being different or varied, okay? So we're talking about variety. Now, I want to introduce you to the diversity wheel. Some of you may have seen it before and you may not, but it's something that I think is a really good way of looking at our own diversity and also thinking about how different other people are, okay? So it's a great wheel and it has different elements of diversity on it. And these are just some of the ways that we are different as people, some of the ways that we're diverse. It might be your gender and how you identify. It might be your ethnic heritage. It might be your age. It may also be your economic status. That's a really important factor for a lot of people in how they might identify themselves. And so I'm inviting you just to think about, as you see the diversity wheel on the screen, what are the things that come up for you? How do you see yourself in that wheel? Okay. Now you've heard a little bit about me, but I want to introduce you to who I am, and I'm going to use the elements of the diversity wheel to do that, okay? So I'm 44 years old. I know I don't look it. I'm often mistaken for a Rotary actor, and I will take that. Thank you very much. Probably people just being kind, okay? But that's one element of my diversity, okay? That's my age. My race, I'm black, yeah. You can see that because you can see me. And there are some elements of our diversity that are easily seen and others that are less so. I'm a woman. I couldn't do a presentation without having the St. Kitts and Nevis flag on here. That's my ethnic background. Very proud citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis. My education, again, that's something that's important to me. I'm postgrad educated. The work that I do, another element of my diversity. I'm a lawyer and a consultant. And location. So one of the things that I think is great about this district is that people are in lots of different locations. And my location at the moment is St. Lucia. So that's where I am right now. So I just wanted to use that, that wheel and some of the elements on that as a way of showing you some of who I am. And as I say, those are the things that were important for me to let you know about. Everybody will have different elements of their diversity that are important to them. Okay, so then we go on to equity. And for a lot of years, you might have heard people talk about equality, but actually today we talk more about equity. And you can see the pictures on the slide. The question that I'm asking you to reflect on there is, can you see why equity is different to and fairer than equality? You can see the difference in the picture that we have there. So when we talk about equality, everybody gets the same. Well, everybody getting the same actually may not be helpful. Okay, when we talk about equity, we talk about people getting what they need to put them in a level playing field, and that's why it's so important. And just a few quotes on equity versus equality. So equality is, I love these quotes, equality is leaving the door open for anyone who has the means to approach it. Equity is ensuring there's a pathway to that door for those who need it. So equity is going that step further. Equity isn't handing a kid a laptop, it's knowing the systemic conditions that led to the lack of the laptop and working to mitigate them. So equity is really about doing that work in the background to bring people to a level playing field. Equality is giving everyone a shoe, but equity is giving everyone a shoe that fits them, okay? No point having a shoe if it doesn't fit you, right? Okay. And so let's just move on to the next part, which is inclusion. And I want you to think about how inclusive you are in your own lives. How do you bring in other people who are different to you? And I like the definition by Merriam-Webster here. So the inclusion is the act or practice of including and accommodating people who have particularly historically been excluded, perhaps because of their race, their gender, their sexuality, or their ability, they may be disabled. Okay. So what about diversity, equity and inclusion in Rotary? I love Rotary because it gives me access to a world of people, and we're doing so much work. And it's been really important to see that Rotary is really thinking about diversity, equity and inclusion, and that it's actually a priority for Rotary in terms of growing and diversifying our membership. It's important for Rotary because diverse organisations are more successful, but actually it's important for us as human beings. And that's where my interest in DEI comes from, is that it's really important to bring people on, to include people, to be an organisation and be people that are there for others. So a few things that Rotary is doing in relation to diversity, equity and inclusion. The introduction of a global task force on DEI. I'm on that task force and it's a great place to be. We're looking at all things related to Rotary, whether that's our policy, whether it's our culture, whether it's our learning and resources, to see where we are right now and where we want to be. I was really pleased to see that Rotary was supporting LGBTQ+ Rotary Youth Exchange students, so students who go around the world in the name of Rotary who have had some really tough experiences as LGBTQ+ people. And also, this is a huge deal, Rotary has nominated its first female president for 2022, Jennifer Jones. So these are just some of the things that are happening in Rotary. And so my question to you then is, and we will come into the Q&A very shortly, is what opportunities can you open to strengthen diversity, equity and inclusion? You could look back at the diversity wheel and reflect on your own diversity and your biases, which we all have in relation to particular groups of people, and really think about why that is. You could be intentional and inclusive in the language that you use. It's so important because it helps people know that they can be who they are when we're using inclusive language. And you can also be an ally for marginalised people whose experiences differ from yours. So I'm a Black woman, but I do a lot of support for LGBTQ+ people because LGBTQ+ people are also marginalised, and I want to add my voice to their cause. I've listed here some resources, which I think makes some really great reading. Invisible Women, it's an incredible book and it's all about data and how the world is designed for men. I think it's important for men and women to read, because men, you can know how to support women. Messengers, who we listen to, who we don't, and why. Again, really important if we're to be inclusive. You know, why are some people's voices always heard and others not? And also the glossary that you'll have there is a really good set of information just on diversity, equity and inclusion language that you could use. Okay.
Now, basically, what I'm talking about here is STEM education in the 21st century. So essentially, what is STEM? STEM basically stands for science, technology, engineering, maths or mathematics. So it's basically the merging or an integrated approach where we bring together all these disciplines for learning. So most of you all are still in school and you know the traditional learning techniques where they teach you how to solve a problem and you basically utilize that to solve your problems. What STEM is basically where we actually teach you to think critically and solve problems. Now, one of the greatest things about STEM is that you don't think it's actually learning in the traditional sense. For example, okay, you think that you're actually playing a game or playing with a particular toy or something like that, and you actually learn by doing stuff. Now, most of you, or some of you might actually have used them before without even knowing it. Okay? Now, I'm not sure if you all see my video, but what I have in front of me here, if you can see it, it looks like a little toy, really and truly. But what this toy is, you can actually control it via an app. So if you ever played with any particular electronics or toys that you could control with a toy, with an app, like for example, you tell it what to do, move forward, move backward, those kind of things, and control it in that way. That is basically what STEM learning is about, okay? Now, if you look at my screen there, you see somebody with a little Kindle or something like that. And you've seen some blocks on the PowerPoint there where you have like when start, forward, 50, stop wheels. So basically it's a drag and drop sort of interface. It's very easy to get started. It's fun, it's intuitive, it's very easy to learn. So essentially, if you ever use any particular toys or anything like that where you have a drag and drop interface where you could literally drag commands onto it. So you don't have to know how to utilize these devices. Most of this stuff is intuitive. It's in the app, and by just playing around, you could actually figure things out. Okay, so STEM concepts teach you basically problem solving. So you don't actually need to know any programming language per se. Okay, now what I'm going to focus on today are two main areas of STEM. One will involve Lego Mindstorms, and the other one is something called Arduino. So these are two, how should I put it, platforms or two examples of what my company uses to teach STEM. So every year we actually host like a robotic camp, Lego Mindstorms. Some of you might know about it, or some of you, most if not all of you, will have played with a Lego set at some point in time. Probably built a little house or something, right? Now, what STEM does for us, it basically, and the Lego Mindstorms, you actually add electronic components to this. So I mean, growing up as a kid, you might have made something with Lego. Yes, it was cool. But with the Lego Mindstorms, you actually add electronics to it. If you see the examples on the screen, you're seeing a robot. You're seeing something that looks like a little snake. You're seeing some sort of spider robot, something like that. You could build this with the Lego Mindstorms, and you could program it to do whatever you want it to do. Okay? So the cool thing about it, guys, is it's easy to learn, it's intuitive, and actually by playing around with it, you're actually learning programming without actually doing the coding. I know some of you might be doing computers in school, but it's kind of boring. This makes it easier, and it's actually really, really cool. Okay. Now, if you look at my next image here, this guy actually built a robotic arm. All that is made out of Lego, and he uses a computerized brain box on it. And basically, he could manipulate and pick up objects with it. So we kind of get into Iron Man level here, but of course this is Lego, so it's still plastic, so you can't fly around yet, but you could actually make really cool projects out of it, right? Now, in this session, I'm actually going to highlight a few of these projects, right? But just go on YouTube and search Lego Mindstorms. You'll be amazed at the amount of things people have created. Here we have another one, Rubik's Cube. Now, I cannot honestly solve the Rubik's Cube. Somebody created a robot using Lego and the Mindstorms electronics, and this robot could actually solve this Rubik's Cube. So at some point, we have some sort of artificial intelligence, some sort of programming into it, okay? And all this is possible with Lego Mindstorms. Here I have another example. Okay, so this particular robot actually can draw. So the robot has wheels and motors and whatever, and you feed an image into it, and it will actually move over a piece of paper and draw whatever you tell it to do. So, I mean, your imagination is really not limited here with the Lego Mindstorms. Okay, right. Now, the Lego Mindstorms is just one platform. The other platform that I want to talk about is something called Arduino. Some of you may have heard of it or not, but you hear Arduino, you might hear something called Raspberry Pi. Okay, so this takes this whole STEM education to a whole new level. Okay, so this image here is seeing a lot of electronics. Now, remember when I started off, I said STEM involved science and engineering and mathematics and all these different things, right? So here now, we're taking it to a whole new level where you get into a little electronics. Now, don't be afraid. It's nothing like, okay, you're going to get shocked and those kind of things. It's very simple stuff. But for those of you interested, you could actually build stuff now that would function in the real world. Okay, so that robotic arm that I showed you, the guy built, oh gosh, it's made of Lego. he cannot do anything really realistic with that. But if you translate that to using the Arduino, you could actually build a real robotic arm that probably the military could use, or it could even be a prosthetic arm that you could use to help the disabled. So what this involves, again, there is basically a microcontroller, one of the electronics on the screen there, that you could program. Now, this part now, you're actually doing more in-depth programming using the C programming language, okay? And you have motors and sensors. So you could literally build something, create a business, market it, and from that prototype, develop something that people could actually use in the real world. So following from this, I'm actually going to show you some of the things that my company has done. Okay, so here now, right, I have a robotic arm. Now, it's basically a kit I bought off the internet, but I tweaked it a bit and used motors and servos to demonstrate the capabilities. Now, the idea here is I could do it at a small level, but what about if I think about upscaling it to build something bigger for events and animatronics and those sort of things? So this is an example of a robotic arm that can be built with the robots. Now, unfortunately, I'm seeing people ask if we could get a chance to build these robots. Well, I mean, my company, we're trying to offer some online classes to teach you these things, right? So you could check out our website and you'll see what we have to offer. We teach you the basics of programming, but these things are easy to do, right? Somebody is also asking about age limits and these things. There's no age limit. I have actually taught 5-year-olds doing these things, okay? So this is a robot tank I built. COVID, I was bored, had nothing to do. I decided to build a robot tank and put in a robotic arm on it. Now, the cool thing about this particular example was that I was actually able to build it so I could control it from a phone. Okay, so, and it didn't take me long to build. So these are some things that you can do, okay? Right, here's another one. I was totally bored here. And I said, why not? Let me build a drone. No, I built this drone from scratch. The actual frame was 3D printed. So 3D printing is actually something you can get into as well. And a fun fact, a 3D printer is actually built from the same Arduino technology. So if I had the parts and I really had the time, I would actually build a 3D printer on my own. I took the easy way out. I went on Amazon and I bought a 3D printer. But these are some things you can build. This drone actually fully functions with a remote controller and all these things. Right? So you'll see the propeller and stuff actually starting up. Yeah, so I'm actually using a remote controller to do this. Okay. Next one. Okay, that looks really dangerous, but really cool. Okay, so for the Decibel Entertainment Festival in Trinidad, what we did from scratch, we built a laser room where you literally, again, using the same Arduino technology, you have to pass the laser. When you hit the laser, an alarm would go off, obviously, and we add time to the course. So basically, the object was to get through these lasers without touching any of them. Really fun stuff. Okay. Here's another thing that I did. Okay. Now, please don't laugh at my wings. I actually designed those wings in like half a day, but the main thing here is the electronics. Now, the aim here, guys, was to actually implement some of this technology into Carnival. Now, we have no Carnival right now, but I can upscale this and actually build animatronic wings into these costumes. You know, so these are some of the really cool stuff that can be done with Arduino. And I realize it's not Lego, it's not plastic. It's actually real electronics and real equipment that we actually utilize out there. Okay? Now, again, all this is based on STEM. Now, it starts off very simple, very straightforward, where you basically learn by dragging and dropping and stuff. But as you take it further, you might learn a little electronics. When I first got started in this, to be honest, every electronic device I touched, I would probably blow a wire or probably get a little shock or something like that. But over time, I actually built up my electronic skills and was able to do these things. And it involves some programming, but again, everything is intuitive. And right now, I could apply this to almost anything in the real world. For example, you know how we have those electronic locks, those kind of things. I actually built a card scanning system for the door, so where you could actually go up to the door and scan it. I didn't have to buy it. So again, everything here is limited to your imagination, right? These wings were not 3D printed. I actually used foam to create it. I'm hoping to improve the design to make it look a little cooler and stuff. But again, that's another project. It takes some time, but again, with COVID, there are a number of different projects we want to get into. Okay, so I encourage you guys to check out our website. It's posted in the chat. You'll see some of the things we're doing, and we will be offering some courses online that could get you introduced into it. And once you get started, it's easy from there. There are a lot of tutorials out there as well, and most of the stuff that I buy, guys, I have to buy it on Amazon. It's not available locally in the Caribbean, but almost everything I actually buy from Amazon, and the parts for this is extremely cheap. Sensors and stuff cost $1, $2. The most you might spend is 10 US or something. So it's very easy to get into, and it's not going to cost you a lot. Okay.
So we are Rotary Interactive Quarantine. We are a network of interactors and youth exchange students from all over the world. We are gonna share with you today how to have fun and make friends from different countries. I'm Annie, I'm from Venezuela.
Hi, my name is Daniel and I'm from Israel.
Hello, I'm Christine and I'm from South Africa.
Hi, I'm Rishabh and I'm from Mauritius.
So we are teenagers as you guys, so we do things a little different. We are gonna ask you to please take your phone and scan this QR code and go to slido.com. If you don't have your phone, you can sign up in your computer at slido.com and enter the code that you see in the screen. You guys let me know if you don't know how to do it and we help you out because, you know, that's how we do things here. So how are we doing? Did you sign up? I'm gonna do it in my phone too, so I can give you the time that you need to do so. And while you guys are signing up, we're gonna ask you, how did the quarantine make you feel?
Oh, it was depressing. Some people were very bored.
Feel that. You can answer in English, in French, in Spanish, in Hebrew, in Dutch. We are speak everything. So you feel free.
So it was scary. Yeah, I think everyone felt that scared. It was restricted, frustrating, and it was hard.
Somebody was okay. That's good.
Hey, someone else learned a lot.
Oh, that's great, you guys. We have a lot of answers going on and we see a lot of stress. We see a lot of people that was sad. We see, yes, go
Some
ahead.
people were peaceful and learned a lot, and a lot felt horrible.
Wow. Well,
It
somebody
helps
spent
them.
yeah, awesome.
Mhm.
What about that one in French that I cannot read? What does
It
it say,
helps them
Rishab?
to rest, but with time they were bored. Um,
Awesome. So
they enjoyed it.
good for them. You guys can still put your answers there. We are gonna move to the next question, but you feel free to keep going over there and put all your feelings there so you can take them out and move on a little bit. So the next question will be, did it stop you from serving others? Like your feeling when you were sad and when you were depressed or stressed, did it stop you? You can say no, You can say yes, it didn't bother me, and kind of. You
It bothered some people.
Yeah, you be completely honest with yourself. Like, yes. So what are we seeing here? What's the majority? I don't see. Do you guys see?
Well, it did not stop
Majority said, oh,
majority.
sorry. The majority say no, but it's always change.
Awesome then. We have every time more and more people getting into our Slido. That's awesome. It's growing like every second. We have 70, 71, 70, yeah, 71. Anyways, so I think the majority, you guys didn't stop serving others, and that's awesome. Some of you did, kind of, but you know what? You are not alone in that feeling. We all were sad. We all were depressed. Some of us, we were okay. I personally got stuck in another country. So everybody has a different, situation. But the good thing is that as Rotary Youth, we didn't stop. We decided to have a meeting over Zoom with other interactors and youth exchange students in different countries. Because we didn't have ideas to serve. We didn't know what to do in quarantine. So we decided to share it with others. That's how Rotary Interactive Quarantine was born. It was a super fun thing that we didn't think it was going to be so big.
In April, we had our first conference with an amazing speaker like former RA President Mark Maloney and the correct one, Holger Knack, and even a NASA astronaut. It was an amazing conference and we all learned so much. After a few months that we saw that we're getting bigger and bigger, we decided to create our leadership team. We're an amazing people from all around the world who work perfectly together and making friends. We had one conference, 4 training seminar, 14 meetings, and more than 100 twinning meetings.
Isn't that cool?
So what do? We currently host meetings on the first and third Saturday of each month, where Interact clubs and Rotary Youth Exchange students share their current projects and experiences. In addition to this, we invite guest speakers to present at our bi-monthly meetings. We also do twinning meetings, which bring together 2 or more Interact clubs from different countries to connect virtually over Zoom and talk about their culture and club's projects. We currently are from 60 plus countries and have more than 700 students with RIQ. What are we going to do post-quarantine?
So, other question. Oh, somebody have a mic and it's making noise like, how's it called? What's the name? Echo? We're fine. Just make sure you have your mic mute so it doesn't bother, the echo thing. The next question is in English. In the future, what will you like to do in Interact? You guys, my friends, what is it that you want to do in Interact in the future? You go wild with your imagination. You can say, I want to meet everybody in Interact in the world. That's what I want to do. Once again, you can put there any language you speak. I'm sure we are going to understand it. I hope so. We have make friends, we have meet new people, we have help others who need it. Wow. Wow. That's a lot of answers. How cool, oh my God. Christine, will you let me, help me reading this?
There's a lot of people wanting to make an impact, finding cures, becoming leaders. Okay. There's a lot of also meeting new people and making friends that I see.
So once again, you can, keep going with your answers. And the good thing about this is that everything you're putting here, meeting new people, make a difference, help the community, make an impact, meet new cultures, you can do all that in Rotary Interactive Quarantine, which is the good part. I'm gonna go really quick over this. In Rotary Interactive Quarantine, we want to provide training and mentorship for the Interact clubs. We want to teach you how to be a president, how to be a secretary, how to do service projects. We want to collaborate with Rotaractors and Rotarians from all over. We want to make the relationship stronger. So Rotarians can help Rotaractors, Rotaractors can help us. Plus, we want to educate global citizens. When you are friends from people from all over, like Christine is from South Africa, Daniel is from Israel, I'm from Venezuela, 3 different continents, and we're friends. So that's pretty cool. And the last but not least, and definitely my favorite, we want to connect Rotary youth. We want you to be able to have friends from all over and make projects with them and have fun with them. So Christine is gonna tell you a little bit more what you can do in Rotary Interactive Quarantine.
So if you want to make friends all around the world, improve your leadership skills, because we have training seminars and you can learn to become a better leader and grow your skills, or if you simply want to share your project or create new big global service projects within Rotary with people around the world, then RIQ is the place where you can do this. And you can also learn more about Rotary, because the training seminars are both about leadership skills, but also the history of Rotary and many other cool topics. So how can you get involved with all of this? So you can scan the QR code on the screen, which will take you to all our social media and our links. So you can go follow us on Instagram or Facebook. And if you'd like, you can also email us. It's in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And then feel free to get in touch with any of us here today. If you have any questions, RIQ is a great place to create global service projects. So you can take it out of your hometown and take it onto another continent or across the world. There are so many people in RIQ who you can connect with and really build such incredible friendships with. Annie, over to you.
So you guys, as Christine said, you can follow us on Instagram. We have a pretty cool theme. Yesterday, we were with President nominee Jennifer Jones, and that was just so cool. So you can follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, and if you want to email us, that's our email. We're gonna be sending over the chat, like our link tree, where you can find all our links so you can get in touch with us. Well, when we created Interactive Quarantine, we didn't expect it to grow that much. So at the first moment, we had no plan. We just had a conference with the Rotary International presidents. That's the complete truth. When we grow a little bit more, we saw the need that we had as interactors and youth exchange students to connect with other people, to see what everybody else was doing and take that and make friends. Because to be honest, we have had more fun in quarantine than everybody else. Not just to be mean, but we really have had fun. We did like an interact party one day and it was just so fun. So we wanted to keep going with this. that's why we're gonna change our name at some point to Youth Network, because that's what we want it to be. We want to be a network of interactors and youth exchange students. So the same that we're doing right now, but without the quarantining part. We don't like quarantining. I don't know if you guys do, but I don't really love being in lockdown. Rotary District 6840 is in where I am right now, is Southeast Louisiana, Southern Mississippi in the US. And even though we have people from all over the world, our district is based on that specific region. So it's basically it's a program of our district, but not everybody belongs to the district. I don't know if that makes sense.
So you do need to be an active member of an Interact club or Rotary clubs to be an advisor. Otherwise, just to report, you just need to be an Interact club member.
That's all. And have the passion and, you know, want to have fun. That's our motto. Now, RIQ, yes, we want to be in every single country that there is an Interact club. We are currently in 60 countries, but we want to expand and be everywhere else. Yes, Daniel is 17. He's from Israel. He was the president of his Interact club in Israel. And I'm gonna jump up and I don't know, Rishab, if you wanna say, what's your club? What do you do in your club? For them to have a little clue that they can join it as well.
Okay, so my club is in Mauritius and we are a school-based club and we have a lot of activities each month and mostly we focus on the environment and helping needy people.
Christine?
So I'm from a school-based club in South Africa in Cape Town, and last year I was the president of my club, and we focus on everything really, in the environment now, particularly with its new introduction as a theme, but before we focused a lot on children and education and literacy.
So I'm Annie, I just turned 19. I'm the oldest, I know. I'm from Venezuela. I was an exchange student. I was the secretary of my Interact club in Venezuela. Then I did an exchange with Rotary to the US last year. And I was in my Interact club here in the US. And then I got stuck here because of the quarantine and I'm still in the US. This is my last year in Interact, I think. So, but I'm gonna still participating with y'all because I love it. But I wanted to be clear that you all can join RIQ. Like, there's nothing that can stop you to join RIQ today. And you can join normally in RIQ, and if you would like to participate even more, like volunteer for, I don't know, we ask for volunteers all the time. You can also join the leadership team or the volunteer team when we open the committees. We have a lot of committees if you would like to participate even more. You guys can go to our link or social media and our website, and this is our link tree where you can find all the links. You just sign up for being in Rotary Interactive Quarantine. You fill a little questionnaire with your information and we will reach out to you and then you're in.
My name is Zachary Phillips. I'm an attorney at law. I was a member of the Interact Club of the Antigua State College, and I was a member in the very first year of Interact Club at Antigua State College. So we were sort of the pioneers, if you would like, you know. Sounds nice when you put it that way. And well, the reason that we all got involved is because we've heard of Rotary and Rotaract generally in the island. And when they said that they wanted to introduce Interact into this particular school, we being myself and other persons, thought this would be a great space to engage wider Antigua and Barbuda and give back to the community. So as the slides say, it was my first Interact experience because the high school that I went to didn't have an Interact club as yet. It does now, I'm happy to say, but at that time, way back when, I will not date myself, but way back when, they didn't have an Interact club. So this was my first experience with Interact, and I just jumped in fully and engaged myself thoroughly. So in that year, which was my last year of State College, I served as the club service director. So I was the one who was involved with organizing social activities and making sure that we had a fellowship amongst the group, which would have been kind of pivotal to do because, as I said, again, this is the first year that the club existed. So we did try a lot to grow that Rotaract family or that Interact family at the time, but we have grown further into a Rotaract family. And all of the members who were in that original batch are now full members of either Rotaract or Rotary. I am joining now only because I've just returned home from school. So there was nothing that I could do otherwise. So as I was saying, in relation to the Interact Club of Antigua State College, my portfolio involved working on the fellowship amongst the members. So one of the stories I'm going to share is that we decided to try and spice things up and include some of the everyday TV show games that we knew, but have a Caribbean flavor to it. So one day we played Family Feud, but the questions that we asked were, what is the favorite sports that you played with your neighborhood friends? Things like that. What is the dish that you hope to eat on a Sunday afternoon? Those type of questions, so that, you know, most people felt connected. And it was interesting to hear the answers as well, because, you know, you take for granted that all of us do the same thing when we're at home, when the answer is is far from that. But I really am very fond of this particular memory because it was an idea that we came up with together and we organized on our own as students. We got all the manila paper, we had a full suit on that particular day of school, and we pretended to be Steve Harvey, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. So that leads into the next part of my presentation, is that joining the Interact Club of Antigua State College really helped me hone a few skills. First of all, time management. Being a member of any organization, but especially a service organization, requires you to be able to put aside hours or energy towards whatever it is that you want to achieve. So even though I was a member of Interact Club, even though I was serving on the executive, I still had to make time for my studies. I still had to make time for my family obligations. And at that particular time, I was also involved in another club. I had to make sure that everything was still how it should be. That also ties into organization. Very, very important was organizing. As I said, a lot of the social activities, the management of those activities fell directly on my shoulders. So I had to be on top of planning whatever we needed, if we needed donations, if we needed food, if we needed anything of the sort. I was the one who had to make sure that that was organized, but still all my other things were organized as well. Communication skills and teamwork, very, very, very key, important skills that you need for life. How you communicate to other people and how you work on a team, it will go with you wherever you go, whether it be school, whether it be work. These are skills that you need throughout life, and Interact is a great place for you to start learning those skills. And all of these skills I have continued to use throughout my life. So I'm going to hand over now to our second presenter. Thank you very much.
Hi guys, I'm Sean, and I'm from the New Kingston Rotary Club in District 7020, that is Jamaica. So you guys heard my introduction earlier. So I went to Calabar High School. It was an all-boys school, and I was the vice president. I was a normal member before, quite active. So this is some of us there. So these were the executive body, and these were some of the members from our school. So we did have a lot of fun. And as you know, going to an all-boys school, we got the opportunity to mix with the Interact Club from the all-girls school. So because of that, our Interact Club was really, really good. So I myself, while going to Calabar, I attended my own RYLA. I learned a lot. I learned how to dress. I learned public speaking. I was able to meet a lot of persons who became lifelong friends. As you can see, I later transitioned to the Rotary Club of the University of the West Indies, Mona campus. I was a sergeant at arms, and I was a counselor at RYLA. So just like how persons are saying, we just helped out, and it was really fun. So persons, they would get up and we will jog at like 5:30 in the morning. I was their drill sergeant. So it was fun. I was the person that really and truly helped them to exercise. And you heard the rest. Okay, so let's move on. So while going in Interact, we did a big project. And it was split in two phases. The first part we did, it was a children's home project. The first one was My Father's House. So here you'd find so we did a joint project. So Calabar, Arden, and Immaculate. Immaculate is the all-girls school. What we have here is you find, so what you do is that we went ahead and we helped persons. So it was like 40 children there, and some of them had physical disability, mental disability, cognitive disabilities. And we donated food, Pampers, clothing, money, etc. We painted the buildings as well as we played with them. So we just went there to give them a very good time. So it was really good. So that was the first phase. And the second phase was the Jamaica National Children Home. So here, you have, again, children who have been abandoned, as well as those with severe mental and physical disabilities. So what we did is we held a book drive, and we repainted, cleaned, rearranged their library, as well as we sourced and donated 3 computers to the library. It was really fun. So persons from the various schools, we just came together and we bonded. I actually met my girlfriend for the next couple of years. Here, that's where I met her. So some of the benefits in which I got throughout my time at Interact, I got mentorship. So Rotarian Kamika Fullerton, the Lisa, at the time, she served as vice president, then president. She was awesome. She's an attorney. I myself became an attorney. And throughout the entire period, she's always been there to guide me. In fact, I even got a sponsorship, right, for my first degree through Interact. So my Rotary Club actually gave me a sponsorship. So that was really good. As you see, mentorship, even now, through school practice, I can call on them and I would always get mentorship. I'm never alone. So that's great. And I still have some awesome friends. So now I'm in Antigua. Zachary is a part of the Antiguan Club. And when I came out of quarantine, the president of Antigua came and picked me up. So that's good. So those are some of the things that you get. You're never alone. And even when I do visit, I even setting up a visit for Venezuela, I have persons there who are just gonna come pick me up just for the fun. So here, this is the RYLA that we kept in Jamaica that I told you about. And those are some of the persons from the different islands. So District 2020 as well as 2030 came together. And here, this is me going back to speak with the men from Calabar on International Men's Day, to guide them and to tell them what to do. I myself became a mentor, and my mentee is now in his first year at law school. So that's good. And we've also tried to set up a scholarship for him as well. So that is great.
So just to begin, I want everyone to think about what is a project, and in particular, who are project managers. So when you think about projects, you're thinking about anything that has a particular outcome, that has a duration, and that relies on resources, time, and costs in terms of budgets. So where it could range from having all different types of activities, which we'll go into, to very large projects in country. So the project managers are the persons that are responsible for running the projects on behalf of the client, or in some instances, behalf of person who would have asked to do that task. And client means anyone that has bestowed the responsibility to you to get the project done. It doesn't mean that if you have a project and you're doing it yourself, that you need a client. You could be one in the same. And I'll explain as we go along. So again, project managers are the persons responsible for the project, and projects, they have a defined beginning and end. They provide or give you a unique result, product or service. So let's look at the three things which are the major points that hinges on project management. Cost is a major factor. Time, scope, or the resources that are involved. Obviously, for almost anything that you do in this world, you need some sort of financial input, whether it is cash or check or Bitcoin that comes into play. Because it has a particular duration, you have time that you have to get it done in. You don't want to necessarily do something and it goes over the time, like let's say what we are doing here now with the presentation. You would not like to be in this presentation for the entire day. And of course, there's a certain amount of resources that are involved. How are we going to speak to each other? The medium that we are using, for instance, the Zoom platform, whether we're going to be in person, how are you going to get there if you're going to need transportation? So generally speaking, it's called a triple constraint, where you have cost, time, and resources that hinges on the scope. And the scope is a series of things that you have to get done. And you want a particular quality that comes out of this process. Because if it's not of great quality, you essentially would have failed on your mission. So when we talk about resources, we tend to think like, okay, materials, but it is not only materials that are resources. As you can see in this slide, the people themselves, and that's why they call it human resource, are very valuable commodities in terms of projects and being able to drive the project, because you need humans, even though we have machines and other things such as applications on your phone to do things and Excels and calculations. We do need people to get these things done. So people are resources, materials are resources, services, equipment, supplies, even the finances that goes into projects are considered resources as well. So I started off by saying projects could be a wide range of things. This is an example. This is a house on a private island off the coast of Antigua that I was involved with under the construction aspect. And this is a home for one family. I kid you not. This is a home for one family. That large area in front of the swimming pool is just the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, the powder room, the pantry. The most of the other buildings there are cottages and master bedrooms with gyms and so on. So projects get very large, major infrastructure projects like you'd see in Dubai, in Sydney, and in the European Union, even some of the government projects in your country. Those are large-scale projects. Infrastructure tends to be the support for the buildings like the roads, the bridges, etc. But projects like what Rotary and other great organizations do can be social in nature, where you have activities such as you launch TEDx, you have a TED Talk, or you have a soup kitchen to assist the elderly. All these social programs as well require a certain amount of planning, execution, monitoring, controlling of the elements when you have that initial idea. So that's important that you know as well. Parties or projects people, event management is and do adhere to the principles of project management. If you're going to have a party with your friends, you're going to need resources. Where you're going to get the fruit punch from, and so on. So you have to put this together in the same way that you do for all projects. The fundamentals do not change. Movies, when you're doing short films for TikTok, Facebook, like my other colleague mentioned, on LinkedIn, if you're doing videos, you still require the same approach where project management is concerned. So in a nutshell, what it is that you have a checklist, essentially. You're talking about having a meeting or a conversation to see who's involved. You list your goals, you schedule when they're going to be done, and you get the costs and the resources that's going to be required. You want to know who you're going to communicate with, how the communication is going to take place. You want to avoid risk, the negative one. That's why you plan. And you want to know whether or not you need to order things, the timelines that are involved, and who the end users are going to be. Is it your sibling or your boss or the public at large? Who are the people that you're serving and what are they looking for? So anybody can be a project manager despite your interests, your background. There are project managers in construction, in law, in medicine, you name it. And it doesn't hinges on your race, your gender, or your religious beliefs. Project managers are good people. They are. And we adhere to high standards of ethics. And it's
Mr.
a
John
trend.
Jenkins, you're at 5 minutes.
Thank you. So we do have as well project managers and project management as a career that is now trending majorly across a lot of countries. And one of the reasons why this is happening, almost in everything that you do, there's a project that's involved within that company, within that organization, within that social group. So people are realizing that it's important that you have an understanding of how to do projects properly so that you don't lose a lot of money, time, resources, and it comes out pretty well. So when you think about it, even without persons having degrees in project management, and you look throughout history, and this famous painting to my right here, Einstein, Mike Tyson, going back to Fidel Castro, Bruce Lee, all these people who have made a major impact in humanity, going right down to Egypt and the pyramids, had project management at the core. So I want to thank you for being attentive. And of course, I would relish any questions that you have at this time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So building a personal professional brand on social media, I invite you to do that on LinkedIn because it is the preferred platform for professionals. And this presentation is brought to you via WSI. So a quick glance at WSI. We're an international global agency, and we have started off as a web development company, but quickly moved into digital. And our main focus, as Castron said at the intro, is that we are all about your ROI. So if it's building your online brand, definitely we want you to do it the best and to the best practices of the platform. So in my introduction also, I claim that 95% people always come on to something new. They follow what 95% of the crowd is doing. I invite you to do the exact opposite because you want to go into reading the fine lines, you want to connect with experts, and you want to do it the right way. Yes, we had 7 children. I educated, homeschooled 2 of our 7 children. So that's why I say psychology and education. And in this online platform of online world of learning now, I am very comfortable also. So if you have any questions about that, you could connect with me later on that, how to get your child to sit down and learn. So yeah, we're all about giving you the best results for what it is that you want digital systems to do for you, systems and tools. Now, I would like you to quickly take a poll. I'm going to open the chat, launch the poll for you to give me an idea as to how many of you are actually active on LinkedIn. I'd like to see how often you are there. All right, I'll give you 2 more seconds to do that. Excellent. So it's kind of settling at around 80%, being there once per month, and 30% being there once per week. Very good for those 30%. And daily people, 6%. That'd probably be part of Jillian and Castron. All right, so here are the results. Excellent. So moving on, going into our agenda. The philosophy of who you want to become, you must write it down, you must define it, because if you don't define it, you're going to end up doing actions that are not going to take you where you want to be. Being a professional, growing your career, you want to know and define today who is the leader you want to become. Who are your heroes? Who are the people who you're going to follow? All right, it's very important to choose wisely who are the people you're going to follow. All right, networking do's and don'ts, we're going to cover that quickly, as well as how to build your unique brand by gamifying your skills. And we'll have some time later at the end for Q&A. Okay, so if we would go back quickly into the beginning of 2020, we realized that, many of us didn't get the plans that we had planned to do, didn't do the routine as we were accustomed in 2019. Many of us had to learn new skills. Many of us got pushed into new jobs, new ways of thinking, new activities. Many of our clients and colleagues that I speak to on a daily basis said that they spent most of their 2020 outside of their comfort zone. So big question to you is, what was your comfort zone in 2020 and how different is it today? You need to know that, you need to write it down, you need to create a career journal if that's what you want to do, because when you have your philosophy in front of you, your actions are going to reflect that philosophy and you avoid a lot of mistakes. Challenges produce growth. Challenges show you how to do things differently. If you have the right mindset that you are going to conquer, you're going to achieve what it is that you set out to do, and that's your philosophy, and the philosophy determines your actions. So when people learn something new, the analogy I have here is the dartboard, because it's a target, right? So you want to learn something new, imagine it as a dartboard, and statistics has it that 98% of the people always miss the bullseye. So we shoot everywhere but on the bullseye, and most of us, if we ever spent any time doing, playing the dartboard, we totally connect with that. And this is also true with LinkedIn users. 98% of the LinkedIn users miss the bullseye in terms of achieving the personal profile, professional brand that they want to have, as well as connecting, using LinkedIn to connect and grow your network. I invite you in this presentation to think of how can I be the 2%? So in 2019, we were accustomed to going to trade shows, networking events, doing conferences, workshops, showcasing our skills in projects, being part of the community of your workplace. And 2020 just threw all of that out. And so therefore, we have to find different ways to showcase our skills, practice our skills to be a better person. So I invite you into the platform of virtual networking on especially LinkedIn, the professional social brand, the professional social platform, sorry. So in doing virtual networking the right way, the way that 2% of the LinkedIn users use LinkedIn, is you have to know your ideal avatar. You need to know their geometrics, their psychometrics, who they are, why it is that you want to follow them, why it is that you think that they are the leader that you should be following. You need to know the characteristics within that leader that you also want to have and to be. Remember that, yes, social media is a platform to showcase who you want to become, and in the real world, you are working on the actions to become that person that you portray out there, okay? Always be generous on LinkedIn. Look at a profile and think of, how can I help that person? How can I, with my skills, help that person achieve the project that they're saying they're going after? Make it easier for them, faster, or even make it possible for them to get their project done. And that's how you show your generosity. And remember, other people are looking at you. So why should you use LinkedIn? It's available 24/7. It's free, and it is a platform that can get you in front of 1 million people. It's very and easily scalable, because for every 1,000 people that you're connected with in your first degree of connections, they also have 1,000. So every time you put a post up, or every time you make a comment, it's a possibility of you being seen by 1 million people. And it's also a possibility of you being connected to 1 million people. So when you use LinkedIn properly, you are going to get that very scalable opportunity. So on LinkedIn, there are 63 million decision makers, 30 million company pages. People who look for solutions go to LinkedIn. People who are asking questions of how to do their project better are looking to LinkedIn for solutions. So that's what LinkedIn is all about now, is content distribution. And people who connect on LinkedIn actually have a 3 times higher chance of making a good connection, closing sales, closing deals. Is 3 times better than other social media platforms. So if you're in the market for looking for a job or changing careers, not changing careers, but changing jobs, changing companies, LinkedIn is the place to be. 94% of recruiters are active on LinkedIn, and only 36% of job seekers are active. So therefore, huge opportunity here for you. And Marketing Foundation says that people who use LinkedIn properly are definitely going to be better seen and close better deals with the preferred client. Going into building your personal brand. Now, LinkedIn offers you 3 types of, LinkedIn scores you according to 3 types of categories: your beginner profile, intermediate profile, or all-star profile. And of course, your 2% of people belong in the all-star section. This is an example of a beginner profile and someone who doesn't value LinkedIn as a place to get sales or to just present themselves professionally. All right. He only has 12 connections. He really didn't fill out his who he is, his bio here, and he didn't use the image offered to him by LinkedIn. This is an example of my profile. As you can see, I actively build out my profile. I actually have more than 4,000 connections, and daily I connect with 10 to 20 people every day, or every time I go onto LinkedIn. So this is 220 characters LinkedIn offers you to tell about who you are. Definitely put your name here, and you tell your company, you showcase your company here. So when you actually make comments on people's posts, you also see the All-Star symbol, as well as I saw notice recently that LinkedIn gave me the author icon, which I'm very proud of, meaning that I share content on LinkedIn pretty often. All right. So get into the opportunity of practicing to share content frequently. So another way, so this is the metrics of an all-star profile. Many of our clients, when we get them started on LinkedIn, as well as when we do workshops, they share with us that talking about themselves can be very difficult, and it is very difficult. And that's why most people tend to put in their profile talking in third party, because it's a lot safer talking in a third party, but I invite you to not do that. So if you find it difficult to talk about yourself because you're not too sure what to highlight, what to say, or you want to avoid bragging, then, you know, that's normal, that's natural, it's okay. I invite you to reach out to me and ask me for the ebook that WSI has recently produced, and that help you build out your all-star profile. You can go to an expert and ask them how to build out your profile. It's all about them. So after you think about who you are, make it your summary content be buyer-centric. Another thing that LinkedIn offers you to know if your profile is doing well is to give you this score. You can put this score into, put this link into a browser, and LinkedIn will give you the score that they put on your profile. A good score is anything above 60. Okay, so building out your connections, it's the networking do's and don'ts on LinkedIn. Okay, you want to look at people's, again, know your avatar, know the reason why you want to connect with people, and you want to search LinkedIn according to industry, according to the titles of the people that you want to connect to, or their interests. Okay, so you need to write those things down and build out your networking connections very purposely. LinkedIn is looking at you, and they will give you your all-star profile very quickly if they see you using LinkedIn the proper way. So you want to go to their profile, you want to read what they said about themselves, you want to connect and add that note, make it personalized, make it personal, give it a nice reason why you want to connect with them. And this feature right here that LinkedIn puts under your profile, it shows how popular you are. Of course, you want to tell people that you're popular, you know, people look at you. So how to build those connections? Always make it personal, always make it about them. Use your first degree network by commenting on stuff that they put out. Always make, you know, as we say in Caribbean, big up people. You do it any professional, but of course, just the language will change. You wouldn't tell people, hey, I big you up, you know, on LinkedIn. But be nice and be generous in your comments. Try not to make it false, but, you know, be real. Always be real on LinkedIn. Now, this is an example of people who have reached out to me, and they said, you know, this Aaron person here was being this is his note that he sent me, very open, very friendly. So, and this person, Martha, it was all about her. So quickly, this is the person I decided to connect with, and I chose not to connect with Martha. Another way of building out your profile is showcasing how you think, all right? So it's very important. Again, the philosophy is very important. Know who you are and who the leader you want to become. So therefore, you need to be feeding your brain in terms of good thinking, good thoughts, how to speak, how to communicate better. You want to be in the 2%, you've got to actively put the effort into it. B2B users are on LinkedIn. They are using LinkedIn for content distribution. And if you're looking for a job, sharing your content, sharing your thought about a particular industry gets more mileage than you telling people, I want a job. How to be, again, any 2%, and you can notice here, less than 1% of people who are on LinkedIn weekly share content. And that's what LinkedIn is all about. That's where LinkedIn wants to be known as high content distribution. People come to LinkedIn looking for content and on solutions. They have problems and they're looking for solutions. They go to LinkedIn to find out how can they solve their problem. So if you're looking to see how you can learn about what to share and how to share it, definitely you have LinkedIn Pages Playbook. You can look it up, or you can hire an expert to help you figure out your content plan. What to share on LinkedIn? Definitely, being a professional platform, we don't want to know about how you woke up this morning. We don't want to know, we don't want silly selfies, and we don't want images of food. We want, and LinkedIn rewards images and posts about your experiences, your breakthroughs, your aha moments. If you want to do personal, if you want to keep it professional, also that's great. Share articles that you've read, share what you thought about an article. So you don't necessarily have to just reshare the article. You can make a comment on the article. Make it human, okay? When you, on many other social platforms, tagging is a big thing. On LinkedIn, it's frowned upon because you don't want to be shared to write an article and then tag 500 people and only get 20 out of those 500 people responding to your tags. Remember, it's professional, people are busy, people are working. So only tag people if you have built a relationship with them and they're going to appreciate your thoughts, all right? Definitely, this is what you want to be doing more than just tagging. You want to comment on other people's posts. You want to encourage people. So you write articles, you write thoughts on LinkedIn, encouraging people to comment on your posts. And we also tell you not to put too many images on LinkedIn, spread it out at least 4 hours apart. So this is an example of how to gamify your unique skills. So here you're looking at a bartender. He's laying out his glasses. You can assume that he's trying to make some kind of cocktail. And then he stacks a bunch of glasses and he loads it up with another, probably an aperitif or something like that. And then he goes into action. So you can see that it takes a lot of skill to do this right now. Many bartenders don't have to do this, but when you do this, what's going to happen? All right, see, excellent. So of course you try not to showcase your gamifying skill unless you've done a lot of practice, and you can see that this bartender did a lot of practice to get that done and entertain his people. So I ask you to tell me in the chat, what do you think he got out of gamifying his bartending skills? In summary, embrace the change for faster success. I beg you and invite you to define your philosophy in life. Who is the leader you wish to become? What characteristics you want to build within yourself? Make your profile on LinkedIn bio-centric. Work towards an all-star profile. If you want help, definitely reach out to me. I will share that ebook that WSI built for you, wrote for you to get your all-star profile going. Connect with the right people, so you need to know who the right people are. Attract others by you putting content on LinkedIn. And definitely, if you want to grow faster, you get more sales faster, you want to advertise to increase your leads and sales. So this is how you connect with me. Reach in Lee at the website www.experts.com to get your All-Star LinkedIn profile.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Wave your hand if it's a good morning for you. Yeah. It's so hard here on Zoom. All of us are very used to speaking to a live audience, and so we'll do our best to get through this. It really is great to be here with you today via this Zoom technology. I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm wearing a flannel shirt, which is different than what you might be wearing because the weather here is very different than the weather is where you are. But I really appreciate the invitation to be with you and the opportunity to speak with you and listen to you today. Please join me in thanking all of the organizers who put all of this together. It's a great effort that was done on your behalf, and so join me in thanking them. I was listening in prior to some of the speakers, and I wrote in the chat box, it is so gratifying for me to hear that the value propositions that we try for in Interact and Rotaract are realized. I mean, I heard them espoused by you, leadership development and organizational skills and public speaking and mentorship and all of the things that we aim for with Interact and Rotaract. And it was just very gratifying to me to be able to hear those by people who have actually gone through the experience. By being here today, you sit under the umbrella of Rotary's motto, which is service above self. And no matter which of Rotary's youth programs brings you here today, you have a leg up on your friends who are not here. You have a head start on the principles of leadership and ethics that will serve you well. So what I was saying is that no matter which of Rotary's youth programs brings you here today, you have a leg up on your friends who are not here because you have a head start on the principles of leadership and ethics that will serve you well through the rest of your life. And we need those principles in our world now more than ever. By definition, ethics is a system of moral principles. The rules of conduct recognized in respect to a particular class of human actions or a particular group, culture, or whatever. And certainly in our world today, we could use more ethics. And that's the opportunity that you have to look forward to as you continue on, hopefully, in a career, not just with Interact or Rotaract, but with Rotary. The definition of leadership is the ability to lead an act or an instance of guidance, of direction. And that's the leg up that you'll have on your peers through Interact, through Rotaract, that will help you throughout your life. And you heard that from our previous speakers. And public speaking, because there's one thing, there's one thread that will help you more than any in your life, and that's the ability to communicate, the ability to paint a picture and paint others into it, the ability to stand in front of a group and speak to them in a way that they can hear, to be a leader. You get to embrace Rotary's four-way test of the things that we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Let me share with you a reading, author unknown, and it's called Dream Big. Excuse me. If there were ever a time to dare, to make a difference, to embark on something worth doing, It is now. Not for any grand cause, necessarily, but for something that tugs at your heart, something that's your aspiration, something that's your dream. You owe it to yourself to make your days here count. Have fun. Dig deep. Stretch. Dream big. Know, though, that things worth doing seldom come easy. There will be good days. There will be times when you want to turn around, to pack it up, and to call it quits. Those times tell you that you are pushing yourself, that you are not afraid to learn by trying. Persist. Persist. Because with an idea and determination and the right tools, you can do great things. Let your instincts, let your intellect, and let your heart guide you. Trust. Believe in the incredible power of the human mind, of doing something that makes a difference, of working hard, of laughing and hoping, of lazy afternoons, of lasting friends, of all of the things that will cross your path this year. The start of something new brings the hope of something great. Anything is possible, and there is only one you, and you will pass this way only once. Dream big. I want to share a poem with you. It was written by a young girl whose name was Amber. Amber was 13 years old when she wrote it. The poem is dedicated to the children of Smoky Mountain, a foul-smelling rubbish dump in the Philippines, which thankfully is no longer home for 25,000 families who lived there because Rotarians there helped to resettle them. Amber visited that rubbish dump with her dad, who was a Rotarian from the US. And she wrote these words after that visit. Listen to the words and see if you are prepared to accept the challenge thrown out by Amber in the last line of this poem. Walk down the streets of sadness, colder than the snow. See the children crying, but no one seems to know. Sifting through the garbage, trying to find a meal, with wounds that cut so deep and scars that never heal. Hidden in the shadows, they are crying out a prayer. Another one has passed away. Doesn't someone care? No matter what I do, no matter what I say, I am just one person, just like I was yesterday. Please don't turn away. I want you to understand. It wasn't my intention. It was not what I had planned. But because I want to help, there's just one thing I see. To heal the world of suffering, the change must start with me. You, the power of one. This morning I ate an apple. And as I got down to the core of that apple, it revealed the seeds. I marvel at the apple seed. Take just one of them and plant it, and it can nurture an entire new apple tree. Inside that one little seed is the potential for an entire new tree. And over the course of its life, that tree will provide thousands and thousands more apples with millions and millions more seeds. In that one seed is the potential for an entire new orchard. The power of just one seed. The power of you. The power of one. That seed has a ripple effect inside of it. And you, at this stage of your life, are like an apple seed. Inside of you is unlimited potential and power. The power of one inside of you is the potential for an orchard of leadership, of ethical decisions, of service to others inside of you. So we, the adults of this world, are going to pass on to you a very complicated and challenging planet. Many good things that we'll pass on to you, but many issues to be confronted. Don't be overwhelmed by the enormity of the need. Realize that on any given day, you don't need to help everyone everywhere. You only need to help someone somewhere, and that ripple effect will indeed change the world. We need you to be lifelong partners in our business as Rotarians, the business of service, the business of citizen diplomats, the business of grassroots humanitarians, and the opportunities for you as you move forward through Interact, into Rotaract, and one day into Rotary are endless. And I guarantee you, you will get far more out of the investment of time, talent, and treasures that you put into our organizations than you ever put into it. You'll get way more out of it than you ever put into it. Take advantage of the head start that you have over your peers. Leave the world a better place than you found it. Above all, have fun. The work that you do, the work that we do is very, very serious. But if we can't have fun doing it, then we should just stop. So above all, have fun. To heal the world of suffering, the change must start with you. Thanks for
It is a great pleasure to have had this session for the last 2 days. It's a culmination of months of work, but we felt that despite COVID, it was important for us to have this session, the first virtual RYLA for our district. We're very happy for the persons that came on. We are hoping that you would have learned something. It is our hope that what you would have gotten over the last 2 days, you will take it back to your Interact and Rotaract clubs, and it will help you to build better clubs. The district has a wealth of experience. So if you ever need any assistance, you can always reach out to anyone in the district, because you are our future and we want to invest in you now so that you can continue into the Rotary family, because a few years from now, when the Rotarians are not here, we will expect the Rotaractors to take up the mantle. Now, a lot of work went into having this session. I would publicly like to thank the RYLA committee members. Without you, this program would not have been possible. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I would also like to thank the speakers from yesterday who we had, which were Matt from the District 7030 Environmental Team, Gat from Toastmasters International, Daniel Waldwin, Kerry Barker, Pierre Cook Jr. from Healthy Caribbean Coalition, and Dr. Rosamond Adams from the District 7030 Childhood Obesity Prevention Team, Lois Ramshani from Admit One Caribbean, Roger Moore from Cash Club Caribbean, Trisha Prabhu from Rethink, and our amazing speakers from today, Carlotta from District 7030 Peace Building Team, Louis Ramdani, Nadine Pemberton, Aniela, Christine, and Danielle from Rotary Interactive Quarantine, Bernadette Chinley from WSI International, Sean and Zachary for your excellent presentation on your experience as interactors, Mr. Colin John Jenkins from CJ&C Associates, and past RI Director Jeffrey, your presentation was phenomenal. I enjoyed it, and it was very inspiring. I would also like to thank our two corporate sponsors who co-sponsored the event, First Caribbean International Bank and Ables. Thank you so much for providing us with funding to have this. It was truly great. I'd like to thank our moderators, Joda and Kazran. You did a phenomenal job. Thank you so much. Our district governor, thank you. I'm not certain if he wants to say anything. I'd like to thank all of the interpreters. Thank you for interpreting from English to French so that our French interactors and Rotaractors could understand what was happening. Our interactors and Rotaractors and Rotarians from District 7020, thank you for coming on board. By last count, we should have had representatives from 7 clubs in District 7030, which I'm extremely excited about. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We are truly grateful. Just one other point. I'm asking all persons who are on today to please go on to My Rotary, to rotary.org, and go into My Rotary and set up an account for yourself so that when we have events such as this, we can reach out to you, we can send you notification. It's also for you to be a part of the alumni because we don't want you to just stop at Interact or Rotaract. We want you to become Rotarians. So this is the purpose of us having this. We are developing you so that you can become our future Rotarians. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Merci.
Thank you, Jonah. You don't know what you've done. You've opened the floodgates. But great day, everybody. Wonderful presentations, as was yesterday. Team, you have done such an awesome job. I truly believe that everybody we had with us stayed until the end. Well, we have 350 roughly now. We had 470 yesterday. And it was, you could hardly feel that this was a virtual RYLA. The participation through the chat groups was incredible. I think that everybody was truly engaged. So thank you all. Team RYLA, Diana, Sean and your team, you did an excellent job. You've done us proud again. So District 7030 once again sets the bar really high. Our friends in 7020, thank you for being with us. You know that you are a part of us and you're always welcome to our events. We hope to be with you in yours as well. So thank you. I'll stop now because it's now time for us to go and relax. Thanks so much. Have some more fun. Bye.